Around 9 o'clock at night, the tour ended inside the old Lake County Poorhouse. The lights were dim, the halls were quiet, and everyone who signed up for the ghost hunt started splitting off into small groups to explore the building. Throughout the night, people reported hearing laughter in empty hallways, seeing shadows move where nobody was standing, and even capturing strange voices on recording devices. At one point, even tried communicating with a spirit box, playing the game Hot or Cold. Later in the night, we asked a spirit Lucy to turn a flashlight on and off. The flashlight appeared to respond. And for me, the most interesting part of the night was sitting alone in a jail cell, hearing metal banging nearby while no one else was around. It turned out to be a pretty interesting night inside one of Lake County's oldest buildings. One thing to keep in mind, this was actually my first ghost hunt ever. I had never taken part in a paranormal investigation before, so everything that happened that night was completely new to me. Some of the things we experienced were honestly pretty surprising. Before becoming Lake County's Historical Society, this property served a different purpose. The Lake County Poorhouse opened in 1877. In the late 1800s, poorhouses existed all over the United States. They were places where people who had nowhere else to go could live. Elderly, the sick, people struggling with poverty, widows, and sometimes children. Residents often worked the farmland surrounding the building and helped maintain the property. For some people, the poorhouse was temporary, but for others, it was where they spent the final years of their life. Over the decades, hundreds of people passed through the poorhouse, and like many historic buildings with long histories, people have reported strange experiences here for years. The ghost hunt actually started earlier in the evening with a guided tour from 7 to 9 p.m. During the tour, we walked through different parts of the property and heard about the history of the poorhouse and some of the paranormal investigations that have taken place over the years. Walking through the building while hearing those stories already gave the place a very different feeling. But the real investigation started once the tour ended. At around 9 p.m., the tour wrapped up and the ghost hunt officially began. The ghost hunt was hosted by Ghost in the Studio Productions, and there was one investigator from the group there guiding the investigation
Sometimes we get what sounds like a robot,
and
and I don't know how that happens. It
helping
happens
run some of the equipment
when
we used during the night.
things really
Once
get
the tour
crazy.
ended, everyone attending was allowed to split off into smaller groups
How old are
and
you?
explore different parts of the property. The doors weren't locked, so people were free to
I can help.
move between the buildings throughout the night. Some groups stayed inside the poorhouse, others went outside to investigate the refurbished barn,
Hi.
which
Hi.
You're
investigators say
good.
also
You're up
had
here
quite a
too.
bit
Cool.
of activity. And early in the investigation, we started experimenting with a device called a spirit box. A spirit box
Which room should we
rapidly
go to?
scans radio
Do you need
frequencies,
some room
producing
numbers?
bursts of sound that paranormal investigators believe spirits may be able to manipulate into words. During the session, we started to ask
Jerry, do you
simple
want to talk to
questions
us?
to see if anything would respond. Later, we decided to see if we could play hot and cold, so
Left
we
room, I think it said.
decided to test it.
Should we go into
We
the
slowly
left
walked down a
room?
small hallway while listening to the spirit box. When we moved away from the middle of the hallway, the voice came
That's
through
possible
saying,
too.
"Cold."
Okay,
When
let's
we
try
walked back
this.
towards the center,
Do you want us
the
to fuck?
response came through as "there."
Warmer or colder?
We tried again. Each time we moved away from the spot, we heard "cold."
I gotta close that.
And then when we moved back toward the middle, we heard "there." Whether it was coincidence or something else, it was definitely made that moment pretty interesting. If you enjoy stories about history, haunted places, the strange investigations like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. I have been sharing stories from around Ohio and beyond. And there are a lot more
Lucy, turn the
interesting
flashlight
places
back
and
on.
investigations coming up.
Thank you, Lucy.
Later in the
You like vodka?
investigation, we went downstairs where another group was running a flashlight experiment. They were trying to communicate with a spirit believed to be named
You been
Lucy.
drinking
Now,
tonight,
Lucy has a
Lucy?
strange, interesting story of
You
her own,
sneaking
which
vodka?
I will not get into and let you find out when you take a ghost tour for yourself. The
You know
flashlight
where
had
they
been
hide the
adjusted,
vodka, Lucy?
so it was just barely on the edge of turning on. Someone asked the simple question,
You do know where
Lucy,
they
can you
hide the
turn
vodka.
the flashlight on? A moment later, the flashlight came on. Then they
The
asked
staff
her
said
to
you
turn
like
it
to
off,
run around up here
and
naked.
the light went out.
Get
This
yourself in
happened several
trouble doing
times
that.
during the session. Each time someone asked Lucy to turn the flashlight on or off, the flashlight appeared to respond.
Can you turn the light back on, Lucy?
Standing there watching it happen in the dark room definitely makes you stop and think. As the night went on, people continued exploring different
Lucy,
areas of
can
the
you turn
property.
the flashlight on?
Some groups spent time inside the poorhouse, others
Making
investigated the
noise?
barn. Throughout the night, there were several reports from different groups. Some people said they heard
Can you
laughing in
touch
the
me,
hallway
Lucy?
that nobody was in. Others said they saw shadows
All right,
moving
Rick, let's
down
continue.
corridors. Several people were also
All right, Cole, we're
using
getting warmer and
different
colder.
equipment to ask questions. And by the end of the night, people had come up with several different names
Shock how fast
they
it went
heard
by.
during the night.
How weird that one was.
There were probably around 6
All right,
different
hot or
names
cold, Cole?
mentioned, and interestingly, some of the groups reported hearing the same names even though they were investigating separately. At one point, someone
Take that phone
captured
again? Yeah.
what sounded like a voice on the recorder while
You
inside
got
the
bread
barn.
left, Cole?
When the recording was played back later, the voice was clear enough that everyone noticed it. Unfortunately, I did not have video of that moment, but it definitely caught everyone's attention. One of the things they encouraged people to try during the investigation was spending about 10 minutes alone in the jail cells. So, sitting there by yourself with metal bars of the cells just a few feet away, I decided to give it a try. And honestly, this ended up being the most interesting part of the entire night for me. Once I was sitting there alone, the atmosphere felt completely different. At first, everything was quiet. Then I started hearing something coming from the cells next to me. It sounded like metal hitting metal,
Hi
almost like
there.
someone
If you want to
tapping
say
or
something,
knocking
feel
on the
free to say
bars.
it.
It wasn't constant, but it happened enough that it was definitely caught my attention. And then
How are you
something
doing?
even stranger happened. While sitting there, it felt like something touching the side of my head, almost like a hand lightly resting there. Now, obviously, when you're sitting alone in the dark room inside a building that's over 100 years old, your mind can play tricks on you. But I'll be honest, for those 10 minutes, it definitely made the experience feel a lot more real. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, places like the Lake County Poorhouse carry a lot of history. Hundreds of people once lived there. Some came during the hardest moments of their lives, and many spent years within those walls. Walks through the halls at night, it's easy to imagine the stories that once unfolded there. Maybe the strange thing people experience that are simply old buildings making noise, or maybe sometimes history leaves behind more than we realize. When I was doing the ghost hunt for the first time ever, I thought, this is all just fake. But the night spent there changed my mind, and it may change yours as well. Because of the interest in these investigations, they mention that the ghost hunts at the Lake County Poorhouse, also known as the Lake County Historical Society, are now expected to happen about once a month, giving more people the chance to experience the building and see for themselves what might be happening inside. For anyone interested in history, paranormal investigations, or just exploring unique places of Lake County past, it definitely an interesting place to visit. If you enjoy stories about history, haunted locations, and the strange experiences, make sure to subscribe to the channel because I've got a lot more stories coming. And if you've ever visited the Lake County Poorhouse or taken part in the ghost hunts there, I'd love to hear what you experienced because sometimes the most interesting stories are the ones we can't fully explain. Thank you for watching and have a great day.